All right, and we are live right there.
Fantastic.
All right, so on three. 1, 2, 3. Hello. All right, well, welcome to episode 1 of
Shaken
and Stirred, which is
basically we're gonna shake up the debate and stir up the discussion.
about everyone and our favorite super spy,
Bond.
James Bond. So we're going to give you a quick little backstory on why we decided to do this. Vuk, right here, this is Vuk. I'm Rob, and we are legit Bond fans going way back. And we were chatting very recently about, we watch a lot of YouTube and see all these YouTubers doing all those cool shows, the Bond Experience, Being James Bond, Calvin Dyson, list goes on. And we were like, oh, we need to add something to the party. We have our own thoughts on these things, and let's have some fun with this. So we said, let's just sit down and have a little, coffee time, or tonight we're having a
Roger
in our Roger Moore
drinking bourbon.
Yes.
Last night when we were attempting to do this trial run,
we did a trial run last night.
Mint juleps in honor of the 60th anniversary of Goldfinger.
That's right.
So
right. So we wanted we did this last night, and funny story is we did a run through, and our equipment only recorded about
8 minutes.
8 minutes. So that was our rehearsal.
But that's okay because this is going to be better.
Okay. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is, first of all, how we met. Quick story, and Vuk will add to it. It was St. Patrick's Day over 2 years ago.
St. Patrick's Day about 2
years ago. And some mutual friends of ours said, hey, there's a guy that knows as much about James Bond or thinks he does as you.
Essentially,
to both of us.
Just to make the story short, we have these mutual friends. And the one mutual friend is from Portugal. And of course, knowing Portugal and the Bond locations, tied to it, we started chatting, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, Daniel Craig, he filmed Casino Royale there, and there were those scenes." And I said, "No, you're wrong." He's like, "No, but Daniel Craig." I said, "No, it was Praia Estoril, which is close to a town called Cascais in Sintra, which are basically provinces of Lisbon, down in the south of Portugal." And I said, "No, it was On Her Majesty's Secret Service." And he was fighting me against it. He's like, "No, you're probably right. I've got a buddy, Rob. He's about to show up. He's a big Bond fan." And of course, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, how many times do you hear someone say, this person is a fan of something, and they show up and they're total charlatans. I mean, next thing you know, Rob comes, and I'm playing a gig. I was playing drums on this gig, and Rob comes, and we start talking about production notes on A View to a Kill or something like that. And
Living Daylights.
Living Daylights.
We went straight to Daylights.
Immediately. It took literally like.
But we knew.
We
spoke the same language. The language of 007.
It took 007 seconds to figure it out.
Very quick. And then they finally hustled him back on stage to play the gig.
Exactly.
But anyway, so obviously we bonded on Bond, which many of people that are in the Bond community, of course, have done that. And hopefully other people outside the Bond community will watch this video, just like I hope they watch other Bond community videos. But the other day, like recently, not even recently, for maybe over a year now, we've been saying, hey, we should get together and have like little debates, because we have debates about Bond, because we're not like in March step, lockstep about what we love about James Bond. There's an age difference here, probably about a 20-year age difference. And my Bond experience is an older Bond experience, as you can tell. He's the older one, I'm the younger one. And
it's a matter of perspective, right?
And so we would have these debates, and one of the first debates, and also when we do this now, we're not going to go into a great debate. Our main thing is we were talking about what's next for Bond, and we'd seen other people doing these videos about like what's next for Bond, and we said we need to throw our hat in the ring, because we're interested in what's next for James Bond.
Absolutely.
Where are we going? You know, I mean, literally, No Time to Die was supposed to come out in 2020. So it's going to be, we're moving up into 5 years now. Now, we've been down these roads before between License to Kill and GoldenEye, and kind of really between Skyfall, I mean, Spectre of 2015. And then when I finally saw, I went to London to see No Time to Die, and that was 2021. So basically almost 6 years goes by, even though they'd had it in the can for, a year and a half or
ages, right?
So, but we were like, where's Bond going next? We've been to the Craig universe, and this is a point of contention with Vuk and I.
Absolutely, yeah. There's this kind of like incongruent, line, this divisive line, so to speak. I mean, it's interesting because indeed we bond, again, no pun intended. We love Sir Roger. I mean, I think
that might be the greatest Bond of them all, is our love of Sir Roger.
Sir Roger. No, and the thing is, like I was telling
Rob,
Rob,
gets a lot of no love from a lot of people, but we're going to hopefully change that.
I was telling Rob, I mean, I remember the days of the the TBS marathons, and I was waiting up, and I couldn't wait for the baseball game to be over, just so I can catch the beginning of daylights or something. I vividly remember this. My mom's like, "No, you got to go to bed. You got to go to school tomorrow." I'm like, "No, I want to watch Bond. I want to watch Bond." And then finally, when I started getting them on VHS, and it's just GoldenEye. I remember I got GoldenEye for Christmas in '96, and then I got Dr. No for my birthday, and then it was a snowball effect after that. So.
Yeah, and so, but we have these lots of, and we still have them, and we're going to have them here because we intend to do plenty of these. This is our little adding to the canon of YouTube James Bond.
Right, but basically, where I didn't finish in regard to that divisive line is that we have this mutual love from basically 1962 Dr. No up until we can say Die Another Day 2002, and I'll be fair now. I'll throw in Casino Royale, but for me, the Daniel Craig period is not my favorite 5 minutes.
Which is kind of and this is going to be a kind of an interesting thing because so many people obviously love the Daniel Craig films, right? So Daniel Craig is for a lot of people, he's been James Bond since 2005. So. Right. And and his reign just ended, and so the younger people may have seen Pierce Brosnan on TV or or on DVDs, whatever. But a lot of people that kind of 9/11 generation, all they've known is Daniel Craig. So that version of James Bond, that Daniel Craig version, is all they know.
But what was it about Craig when Craig hit the screen for the first time? What was it about him that drew you in? Because I'll tell you exactly what was about him that drew me out.
Okay, well, I would start with what drew me in. Obviously, Casino. I mean, when I literally went to Los Angeles and saw Casino Royale on the opening night at the Man's Chinese Theater in Hollywood. We were all done up. Me and the crew we're all dressed to the nines, looking great. Amazing theater, of course, massive screen.
I did the same thing in Atlanta, Georgia.
Perfect sound, And the second it starts, obviously it's different, because it doesn't start with a gun barrel. It doesn't, all these things. You're like, whoa, what's happening here? It opens in black and white, and then it just the second this guy comes on screen, with I know where you hide your gun. That's right. I was like, oh, I'm in, and then then of course there's that bathroom fight scene in black and white. And then he kills, the guy Dryden. That's right behind the desk. And and he says, he's got that great line. He says, what's the line? It's such a great line. I'm skipping it right now.
Considerably.
Yeah. That's right. Considerably.
Yeah. And your second
then it comes up. Right. And I was like, and then everything about. I personally think Casino's in my top 3. Easy. And now quickly, I'm juggling between Majesty's Secret Service, Casino, and I'm a Roger fanatic. So Spy Love Me is my kind of that's my triangle right there. And everything sort of comes off that. And people go, where's Connery? Well, Connery's definitely there. But if you said Desert Island, you only get 3. I'm probably going to pick those. So And then, then I got on board immediately with Daniel Craig. I mean, I was in 1,000% in. All right, I'm so happy for the next God knows how many years. This Bond. Also, and this is kind of part of it. I've heard Zaritsky talk about this, but this was the first Bond that was my age. This is a Bond that was literally like I could relate to.
Contemporary, right?
He's an absolute contemporary. He's not an older man, and now the next Bond, of course, will be your age.
Right.
And there was something really cool about that. So, but tell me what. But I got right off the bat. Casino's a little different because it's very much a Fleming book, right? It's Fleming movie. They have the basis is the Fleming book.
Exactly.
And then of course they got to go off the rails in many ways with the future films. But yeah, my thing. Craig was never. He's not as stylish or as smooth. He was not Roger or Brosnan, that smooth, stylish. Like you just felt those guys lived in a tuxedo. They lived in a casino. That's the vibe you got. I didn't get that from Daniel Craig. If I saw that with Daniel Craig, like wearing like a Hawaiian shirt and running through Madagascar,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's how you would define.
Yeah, he's a more he's that modern Bond, right? The
right.
new kind of the new Jason Bourne Bond.
Well,
and so anyway, so take it away.
So. I think you had
these
many
coasters.
Disco Volante, literally.
We're on the Disco Volante right now. We literally are on a yacht.
I mean, we're dressed like we're on
a yacht. We just came off. We're crew.
We're crew
on the Disco Volante.
I'm wearing my Roger.
We're crew on the Disco Volante right now. Yes, Largo. We just put Largo to bed.
Disposed of Largo.
Just disposed of him. Domino's wandering around with looking for radioactive something. Carry on.
Anyway, we digress. Basically, I think Rob had the luxury of, literally growing up with these films. Like, history was still being made as he was growing up. And, I was born essentially, months after License to Kill came out. So, that was a time of change. It was a time of change. It's where that lull happened. We didn't know if Dalton was going to return,
or even if Bond would even come back.
Yeah, and there, and actually, this jacket here that Rob was convinced is a crew jacket, which I mean, it very well may be.
It might be.
Apparently, I found an article online, like a rare article, that there was some kind of convention in the early 90s, and it was like maybe 92 or 93. So it was that period where, the world technically still thought that Dalton was Bond. And, they were selling these jackets because GoldenEye wasn't announced as the next film yet.
That is not a clue.
Absolutely. So, the thing is, by the time Die Another Day came out, I was 12 years old, and since I grew up...
That's a 12-year-old's movie, too.
Well, right.
And that's a 12-year-old...
Right, and...
would love that movie.
And
I love that movie.
But even as a 12-year-old,
I
love the first half, but not to get into Die Another Day now. For obvious reasons why it's, not in my top 5.
No one really puts it in the top.
Some people do.
Some people do.
But so I kind of caught that tail end. It's like with musical artists. It's like I'm a Prince fan. I'm a huge Prince fan, and I almost got to see him, and then I didn't see him, and like my soul was crushed when he died. So it's like when you feel out of place, it's like you're born in the wrong generation. It's like I grew up watching this character Bond, who's realizing, maybe when I grow up, I'm going to have all these women, and I'm going to go on all these adventures, and there are these villains that I'll be able to dispose of. It's a child's dream. It's an adult man's dream. But it's escape is fun anyway. We don't have to define what Bond is, but
we have plenty of time to do that.
Plenty of time to do that, right? So I was really hoping that Brosnan was going to return after Die Another Day, and when it was announced that he wasn't, I was obviously still a Bond fan, and I was following all the news, all the updates, what's happening, and then Craig's announced, and there he is riding down the Thames, and I'm like, freaking Necros is the next Bond. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I'm like,
you got blonde hair.
No, like, you gotta be kidding me. And I'm blonde, but I think I'm living vicariously through, this like dark-haired, scrapping, dark gentleman with with this mystique and
martini in hand,
and this martini in hand, and this coolness and suaveness, and all of a sudden my dreams are being shattered by the producers coming out saying, well, we want to try something different. We didn't know where to go after the Brosnan period. We're going to do a reboot. We're going to go back to the beginning. I was like, back to the beginning. I'm like, but Bond is all about modern times. And, Rob and I were talking about.
Oh, they kept him in modern times.
Well, they did. And we're both on the same page that we would both extremely dislike to see Bond being a period piece thing. Bond is very much at the time. And that's one thing that, I'll give them accolades for that, Eon accolades for the fact that they've kept Bond in the modern world, whatever that means, even though I think Craig's world is very fantastical, but that's another topic. So, I was disappointed by that. And then, Casino comes out, and then the tropes that we're used to, the opening gun barrel, like all these things that I wanted more of that Rob had gotten for,
my whole
30
life.
years at that point,
Yeah,
right?
right.
You're 20 years, okay, you're 20 years older. But but it's like, and so it's like, it didn't feel fair. It didn't feel fair because it's like, all of a sudden I'm like his peer in regard to, being a fan. It's like I grew up with Bond, obviously, after the fact. But, still, it was just kind of like I wanted more of that, and I didn't get more of that. I felt like I was robbed of that. So, it took me a while to warm up to Casino, and I was like, okay, great. Fine. I bought the DVD. I watched it a few more times. I'm like, all right, I'm warming up to this. And then, I started becoming very, outspoken on, on IMDb, Internet Movie Database, where I,
were you commenting?
Almonds, where I was commenting, and, I was writing these almost, essays, these dissertations on my views and whatnot. And I was, almost from day one, very critical of Purvis and Wade, who were the screenwriters for the Daniel Craig period and, of course, the end of the Brosnan period. And I honestly felt that they were a big part why those films started to go downhill.
For you?
For me, in my opinion, because, I felt like a lot of fans kind of down-talked both The World Is Not Enough and, Die Another Day. And I'm like, And then, I wasn't a big fan of Casino Royale when it came out, as I mentioned. But then I was like, all right, they have primary source material. It's a big thing that they went back to Fleming because, as Cubby said, when in doubt, go back to Fleming. And I get it. It's a great idea. You're modernizing this. But, it's now post 9/11 Bond, new take on the character, but you're still, referencing Fleming. And it's cool, it's unique, but now the challenge is where do we go after that? And so Quantum comes out, and actually, I enjoyed it. Am I a big fan of that film? No, but I enjoyed it. I love that the more traditional gun barrel came at the end, and I still thought it should have been at the beginning. Slowly kind of moving into what we're used to.
They bring the gun barrel back for Skyfall.
That's true, but still, I have my problems with Quantum, and I'm like, your
main problem is with Craig.
Well, my problem's with Craig because he's not embodying that suaveness and that coolness.
All right, yeah, that gets us to the blunt object, the blunt instrument.
The blunt instrument, and he doesn't have the coolness of the guy that I want, Theo James, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we're going there.
Anyway, we're going there. It's a big spoiler. I just ruined it, but I had to go there because he's fresh in my mind. I just finished The Gentleman, but we'll get there. Anyway. So it's
you're feeling that Craig is not.
So Craig is not. He's not embodying it. Like I don't see this as as James Bond. I don't see him as an amalgam of Sean Connery and Timothy Dalton, or more in Timothy Dalton. I think everything has to be kind of a.
Well, most people would say he is the amalgam. He's the next step from Dalton. So Dalton was going there.
But I always said that Craig needed to act to be Bond, whereas the other ones just plain were Bond. They were Bond. And I know that sounds like a major diss, and nothing against Daniel Craig because I think he's an outstanding actor. I love the films like Layer Cake and the
but he
jacket
took Bond. I mean, as a person. Now, if that's this might be the problem because a lot of people are like, I don't want to see Bond's inner freaking workings. I want Bond, with 3 beautiful women and a couple of great cars and 4 fantastic locations around the world and some quips and some good times.
But that's the thing, though. But
Roger, we never went into Roger's inner life.
Which is, I mean.
Sadness over the death.
There were some melancholic, or some moments. Okay,
there's a few moments.
For Your Eyes Only, where he's putting the flowers on his face. He's great.
And when Amasova mentions about his being married once,
that's
and
right.
Let's move on.
He doesn't want to talk about. No, it's understood, but
but those are few and far between.
But again, going back to Purvis and Wade, sorry if you guys are watching this, you probably never watched this video, but I'll say it anyway. As much as it sounds like I'm throwing them under the bus, I felt from even Casino Royale, they could rely on the primary source material. I've kind of already said that, but I was like, all right, what's next? Quantum, kind of random. I think we can kind of agree. There are strong things about
there are reasons for that.
Sartorially,
right. But there are reasons for that. We all know that. The most Bond fans know that.
Yeah,
obviously, it was the writer's strike.
Right.
They kind of have to cobble something together. Sure. It's the shortest Bond film.
Right. And what I liked kind of the length because it kind of harkened back to.
It's short.
It harkened back to Dr. No. Dr. No's like an hour and 40 minutes or something like that. So and it kind of going back to the short and sweet thing, but
so you've had an issue with Craig
I've had an
since
issue with Craig,
2005.
but I've had an issue also with the writing, and I almost feel as if the writing were more along the lines of Dick Maybaum, it would be something that would appeal more to me, and then we have Skyfall, which. Also, I was like, did I love this or how did I feel about this? For me, when I watch a film, yes, maybe it takes repeated viewings, for you to say, what, that's a great film. It's misunderstood, but that's a great film. I've seen Skyfall several times. I don't see the appeal. I feel as if there's so many holes in it because the whole point was to ground Bond, and now we have man-eating Komodo dragons.
That's awesome. That is straight up James Bond world.
Right? But it goes. It's like the antithesis of what we're doing now with Bond. It's like
they were bringing more of that in because they didn't have that in Casino or Quantum. Quantum were like those films. There's none of that.
It was pissing me off. This whole kind of and we're gradually going to start reintroducing. I don't need to gradually reintroduce it. I know where these things come from. I don't need a backstory.
A lot of times, remember, these are massive entertainments made for not just us.
Right.
And you're kind of like regular. I like James Bond. That's.
I like James Bond.
I like James Bond,
Georgia. Yeah.
And I get you have to throw in the Easter eggs. You have to throw for us, for the Bond fans, but also those things that Bond that your average viewer wants to see. Now, there's a reason Skyfall was the most successful film of the entire Bond series.
50th anniversary.
And a lot of things. It's also a great movie, and it's for a variety of reasons. Sam Mendes. Great breath of fresh air. That entire opening sequence is one of the greatest opening sequences in film. I mean, on top of
Bond looks like a Marine, and then there's how
he
survives that fall, and it's like you've got to be kidding me.
He's James Bond.
Yes,
James Bond survives until.
But he's also now a different James Bond.
He survives until he doesn't survive, as we know, with. No Time to Die.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's an antithesis. It's an antithesis.
Okay, but also remember, Daniel Craig's entire thing, and this is where we'll go deep into this down the road, but Daniel Craig's entire thing is its own bubble. Unfortunately for you, you've only lived really in the Daniel Craig bubble. You had a childhood that had some Brosnan, right? So you got that. Brosnan. Brosnan kind of a tougher Roger Moore.
Exactly.
A tougher Roger Moore.
Right.
And
we'll infuse a little humor. It's like the dating world. I'm old-fashioned. I like to meet a woman, and I think it's more interesting that way instead of let's use electronics to see what the We're getting off topic, but you understand the point. The analogy.
Well,
is
this was
the analogy.
We never saw Roger running around with an earpiece.
I like old school a little bit. I like a pre-AI world. I like this.
Yes.
But at the same time,
we live in the modern world, and so does Agent 007.
That's right, and I'm all for keeping him relevant and in the modern world. So anyway, to kind of wrap up this whole Craig Spite Fest. No, I'm just kidding.
Spite Fest.
I mean, it's again, Mendez being hired. It's like he's infusing poetry, but then logic is kind of being thrown out the window, and then it's like cyanide doesn't kill a person, and then there's like, Q has come up with this thing called a radio, and then we have PPK, which this isn't a real PPK, but we had to bring the props. The PPK that has the palm reader, and it's like, come on.
Well, obviously the joke is that he's not getting any gadgets. This is what with the Q branches. Now, of course, Q branch goes back to giving out the gadgets, but this is what you get. In the Skyfall world, you're getting a gun and a radio.
Right.
But the gun does have the palm print, the sensor action going.
Right.
But obviously Bond's still got to fight with his wits. It's all about his wits. He doesn't have those gadgets. But when he does do the radio thing, it's a radio.
Useful.
It's awesome. It's classic in that sense. And look, Skyfall. The film looks like Skyfall. It looks beautiful. The song is great. The music is great.
Right.
Like Spectre. I love the Thomas Newman soundtrack. I was telling Luke earlier, there was a period there I was running every day, and I would just listen to that soundtrack. It's such a good running soundtrack. So for me, the Craig era, as I said, I kind of relate to it, but I also get this fact that it was in its own world. There's no Tracy. He was never married. Remember also from Casino to Quantum, then he jumps to Skyfall. The Casino and Quantum is like his first missions, right? Literally, it's like he's a brand new 00. And then literally, the next movie after that, they're like saying, "You're over the hill."
But this is what I'm saying. It's half-assed and hodgepodge.
It's a little bit. Yes, definitely. I totally agree with you that they kind of are like, we're gonna make him Craig now. Now he's an old man and he can't do this anymore.
Right.
And literally the 2 movies before he was a brand new agent.
And I hate to say this, but it already started feeling tired to me. It started to feel uninspired, and it's like we don't know what we're doing here. And then there's like, now I even forgot. Was it Silva was behind everything, or Blofeld was behind everything?
Right. So Quantum becomes Spectre.
That's right. I mean,
there's a variety of reasons for that. Obviously, but we can go down the road with that. That's another rabbit hole. But everything's connected.
Everything is connected.
And we all hate. No, if there's anybody watching this that loves the fact that Bond is quasi-related by adoption to Ernst Stavro Blofeld. Trust me, Connery's Bond was never quasi-related to Donald Pleasance or Charles Gray.
Absolutely.
Or Leslie was definitely not related to.
Well, the joke was on. No, but the joke was on us. It's like, have you guys seen Austin Powers? The joke is on you guys. And it's like, so it wasn't cool.
But
for a Bond fan,
I think what they're always trying to do, they were trying to do new things, and it's always admirable. And I think, and they've run the gamut so much so that, and we can talk a million times, we probably will. We can do a whole thing about killing Bond. Just the fact that they kill him at the end. I mean, they kill James Bond. Now, but plenty of heroes, heroes throughout history die. Let's see, King Arthur, list goes on. In all these last Star Wars, they've killed off all the original characters. Like, you killed them. But as we were talking last night, at the very end of that 58-minute crawl of the 80 million people that worked on No Time to Die, that final line, James Bond will return. And that just melts my heart. It makes me think there's another reason, no matter if you're having the worst day, if every bad thing has ever happened in your life, you're like, well, damn, in a couple of years, I get another chance of it being amazing.
Yeah.
You know, or something that you really want, another golden eye. For me, I mean, I love Casino Royale. I think it's almost a perfect movie.
It's great.
I mean, literally almost
Even though
a perfect
I feel
movie.
like anyone could have been Bond in that. Clive Owen. But anyway.
Well, there's plenty of people that could have been Bond, but they chose Craig, and I love. I like his demeanor. I like his line delivery.
Did I ever tell you that I had the chance to tell Clive Owen that he would have been a great Bond?
I did too, and we got a whole nother thing about that. We both have a Clive Owen
run-in.
I had mine in London, and where'd you have yours?
Whole Foods in the checkout.
And here
in Savannah,
and he was
Georgia.
making
the Omega Man with Will Smith.
It wasn't
Omega Man.
Marathon. He told me.
Wait,
no one even remembers this movie.
It was something Omega.
It was something like that.
It wasn't Bicentennial.
No.
Anyway.
When I met him, he said I was in where we live, in Savannah, Georgia, and he said I was there making whatever it is with Will Smith, and we'll have to revisit
The
this.
sequel to Omega Man. I'm just kidding. No,
it was what the hell was it called? Maybe it was called Omega Man. I don't remember.
Something like that.
The comments, once it gets like on the internet, people tell us, and we'll look it up. But anyway, long story short. So now we're in this new phase. Like, okay, and we will go into great detail.
Well, let me just really quickly wrap.
Where do you want to go with this?
Well, this kind of I want to tie this into moving into
the future.
Into the future.
Okay.
I think this is kind of extremely important to mention from the Craig area that I don't think a lot of people talk about. We've watched a lot of these video podcasts, a lot of these things, and really I haven't noticed people delving into talking about history, talking about politics, talking about these things. And there's kind of a important important part in Skyfall when Judi Dench is reciting Tennyson, and Bond is running, and there's that courtroom scene. Silva's about to show up and wreak havoc, and Dench, she says something about how we live in a world where countries are no longer villains, but they're individuals. They're individuals, special interest groups, these Blofeld type of people that are, running the show. Call them the cabal, call them Illuminati, call them the elite, whatever you want to call them.
Spectre,
right? Exactly. Quantum, whatever the hell you want to call them.
All right.
And so I think that brings us to modern day, because another qualm that I had. Yes, I agree. Pushy galore. Yeah. So another issue that I had was, all of a sudden in these new films, it's like in Top Gun Maverick, the same thing. It's like, well, we don't want to be political here, so countries are not going to be mentioned. Even though
I have no problem with that.
In Maverick, it's kind of implied that they're in Russia.
You have no problem with that.
But the thing is, though, we still live on planet Earth.
Even Bond, from the very early films, didn't fight, the Smersh. It was Spectre. In the books it was Smurfs.
Right,
so,
but there was always, their operatives were KGB trained.
Sure. They mentioned the Russians. The Russians are all over the
exactly.
movies,
but I feel that they're always.
So the Russians, we've always had good Russian bad guys.
Well, no, they don't have to be. They can be whatever the hell. But my point being,
we went through a whole phase of movies where they were all Arabs.
Right.
So,
right. Exactly.
Then we kind of got out of that post 9/11.
Right.
10 years.
But my point being is that there needs to be some kind of a thread, a semblance of reality, in my opinion. So if you completely get rid of that, you're kind of like, well, this could be happening on Venus or Mars, as far as
okay, but I kind of see, but in the reality, like, in what world in 1977 was the Atlantis rising from the sea, and Carl Stromberg is going to create world havoc with nuclear weapons,
right,
so we can all live under the ocean.
And
then Drax is the same thing with his floating stud farm.
Mad industrialist.
Well, we have a few mad industrialists in real life right now.
Agreed.
But a Bond film doesn't need to say Elon Musk. They can say some guy like Elon Musk.
But what I love is, like, in the old films,
Carver was essentially Murdoch. You know,
Sure,
we know
sure.
that. You know, about Fox
Right,
News
but the
and all that.
henchman, for example, had a backstory. That's what I love. Like I even had this idea. Don't steal this. Like I had an idea of making like a henchman origin story. Like it would be kind of cool to do that.
Oh,
A
yeah.
Bond henchman origin story. And like you think, what's his name? Krieger from For Your Eyes Only. Eric, the sniper.
Yes.
The Aryan.
Oh, you want to know that the East German skiing?
Yeah, but you know,
where
but
he come from?
Right, he has a backstory, and then Max Zorin trained by the KGB. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like.
Well, okay, but that's fine. But I'll leave that to graphic novels and other things. I
Yeah, but
definitely
I love that in
do
the
not
movies.
want to see that in a Bond movie.
I do.
Because this is the exact same reason why I don't want to see the Moneypenny spinoff. I don't want to see a Q spinoff, even though in London, open today, House of Q. But that's just a cool thing you can look at. The whole reason why, this is why I like Eon, I love them for this. I love them. They've had every opportunity to go, trust me, Netflix, Amazon, whoever, Amazon right now, can you please do a 10-part Q or Moneypenny spinoff
They said
or a
no,
villain?
right.
Exactly. You know why? Because Bond is like a very expensive watch or a very a fine Tiffany diamond. And they're fun. They're not cheap. It's something that comes out every few years. It comes out every 3 or 4 years. It's not something that's cheap. And we definitely don't do spinoffs. And Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson have said a million times, these are cinematic experiences to be enjoyed on the gigantic screen. And the main focus of that is one character named James Bond. And of course, and a lot of people, they caught a lot of crap the last few years because there's like, they call them the Scooby Gang. You know, with Ben Whishaw and Naomi Harris and Ray Fiennes and Judi Dench. Everyone's like, this little gang now that Bond never had before. But that's not true because Q started showing up in Connery's world on location.
That's true. But they were never like the Scooby Gang. They were never like these contemporaries like.
But then they became the Scooby Gang because maybe also generationally we have an entire generation of kids that kind of grew up with it. They want everyone having all the. Also remember, these are all major actors playing these parts, so who all demand more than 3 lines in an office. Going, Bond, here's your whatever, and then I'm done. I'm Ben Whishaw. Ben Whishaw is. I'm not saying I'm Ben Whishaw, who I met. That's a great story. I can tell you a great story about that. But those are major actors. They've been in a ton of movies, and so they're like, we have to give these actors, girth. They have to have more. So hence we get the Scooby Gang.
But they do it for me at all. But anyway.
But that's just the deal. If you're going to hire, back in the day, Bernard Lee, all these guys were all happy to get their 2 or 3 days of work in. 2 or 3 days. Desmond Llewellyn literally worked. I think you talked about this many times. A couple of days every couple of years. Got paid very handsomely. Had a wonderful. What other movies did you see that guy in? Nothing. You know why? He's off, doing his hobbies, living with his life.
Right.
I got the greatest gig ever. I can literally just show up every couple of years and go, hey, pay attention, 007.
He's iconic. I mean, I think Ben Whishaw is a great actor,
but Ben Whishaw is a.
Desmond Llewellyn is the iconic Q.
Well, of course he is.
And
but Desmond Llewellyn also wasn't going off right after he left the Bond movie to do a 7-part Netflix show where he's the star. Sure. And this goes on. It was a different era. It was a different time.
Yeah.
And so, Bernard Lee, had been in a million movies since the 50s or something. Same deal. It was like that was a paycheck, great paycheck for those guys.
I'm not stuck in the past. For me, it's just I think it's extremely important to go back to basics. Forget about the blockbuster thing. Yes, there will always be blockbusters.
Oh, they have to be blockbusters.
No, it's fine. The big action pieces. I mean, the stunts, all that. I love all of that. I want it to be tastefully in a film, but first and foremost, I want a good script, and I want it to be like.
All right, we can agree on that.
I want it to be like a detective.
All right, we want a great script, but you want a detective story. You want to go all the way back to Dr. No, where it's just kind of like. A magnifying glass.
No, but it doesn't have to be a magnifying glass. It can be an AI-powered magnifying. No, but
AI-powered. That's a good idea.
But I love a mystery.
I
love a good mystery. And I think that Bond should be mysterious, and we should wonder more, and not have everything ruined like every film in the trailer. And you think it's going to be larger than life and then pales. I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, Saf and what?
Yeah, obviously not the greatest
Dominic
villain,
Green,
but a great actor. Well, Dominic Green, yeah, yes, Craig didn't run up against like the toughest crew of baddies at all, and that we can agree on. But okay, now because we have to wrap this up, so we're going to talk about really quick.
Now we're getting to the meat of it. Yeah,
we both loved the recent Guy Ritchie, series, which was like just
based on the film.
Well,
right?
his film, he already made the movie.
Right.
It was like, well, let's just stretch it out. The Gentleman. And the star of that, Theo James, probably within the first couple of episodes, I loved it when if you've seen The Gentleman, it opens up, he's in military uniform. I went, oh, that's cool. That's kind of Bondy, right? I want to see Bond. Like we never saw Craig ever rocking the Commander Bond outfit.
It was the first couple of damn minutes.
Well, for you loved it.
For me.
And so, and I loved it too, but it was like within about 2 or 3 episodes, especially once he's really dressing up and like, you just got this sense like, oh, this guy could definitely do this. He could be James Bond. Of all the actors whose names have been thrown out over the last 5 years, a whole slew, that guy immediately jumped at me and went, that's the guy. He's handsome. He look at me. He's got a great voice. He can do action. He can do all this, everything I need in a Bond. And then I think you said David Zaritsky had said this. You could take the entire cast of The Gentleman and put them in the next James
I
Bond
honestly
movie.
felt like I would
totally,
a Bond film.
Totally agree with. Well, it's not a Bond film. It's
it's
a Guy Ritchie criminal, London underworld criminal movie, which is not Bond.
But the Duke, who's
no different than the same way.
Captain. All
yeah,
right.
But this layer cake is the same world, the gangster world of London.
But it's Craig, who's not Bond. I'm sorry. Anyway. You have Theo James, who's this, he's this dark hair. He's the right age.
He's never seen Divergent. Though. He's never seen any other.
I haven't.
Theo's been around a while.
Right. No, I know he has. But it's just.
But he's grown into it. He's grown into it.
He delivers the lines. The way that he sits down with a drink. The way
Oh, he looks cool.
He looks cool, but he immediately harkens back to Connery being in the office with M. And
I would buy him. If he was sitting across from M, I would buy him a drink.
Absolutely.
Like that scene with Dench and Brosnan in GoldenEye, when she says he's a dinosaur.
I can hear him now, like reciting some bullshit, a caviar usually is used for smuggling cocaine, and gold bullion, which
north of the Caspian. That's
right, exactly. So it's like it's some kind of.
All right, so we agree.
There's a way that he delivers the lines. Which is just
okay, but in reality, here a couple of because we have to wrap this up. The reality is we like that guy. It's our pick, and we're not the only ones. Some people in the Bond universe have also the Bond YouTube universe.
Cavill would be cool. Don't get me wrong, but
Henry Cavill. Yes and no. I have my nose on Cavill, though just primarily because I just don't want my Bond to have been Superman, and the list goes on. I want my Bond to have not so much been on 4 other iconic freaking things.
And Witcher is not unknown, but he's not as well known as Henry Cavill.
Oh, he's not. He's basically unknown. I mean, he's not a star at all, and not really. And he'd be perfect. So we like that. We like that kind of vibe. We just want it to be fun. We would like a mission. Bond goes on a mission. M hands him a file. You're going and doing this. There's a bad guy that wants to destroy the world with AI or whatever. And go get him. You're going to meet 3 ladies on this trip. You're going to sleep with all of them. One of which is going to die, the sacrificial lamb. You're going to have a buddy that you meet too. He might die. He may not. Maybe Felix Leiter shows up. We love Felix. So a new Felix, always welcome. Bring Felix back at any time. And then, they save the world. At the end of the movie, I want the world to be saved. And honestly, I want to hear the last lines being, "Oh, James." I want when that goes to black, I want them making out, laying in, I don't know, somewhere. "Oh, James," and boom, and then the credits come, and it says once again, James Bond will return.
Right. But I have to add this, which I think is extremely important, and we can touch upon this next time. I hate to say it, but it's extremely important to reference the world in which we're in. And, this is not the same England in which, the majority of Bond films have taken place. England has changed. The world has changed. The landscape is changing altogether.
The world continued to change from
The
1962 till now.
The world continued
Bond's
to change,
lived in it.
but I don't think that it's ever progressively changed at this rate due to technology, due to this exponentially growing greed. The crises in regard to immigrants, Brexit. All of these things are extremely important, and so we're going to be completely apolitical.
And Bond is.
But I
Bond
will
just
say
goes after greedy, evil.
But the thing
bad
is,
guys.
but the thing is, now saying for king and country is a little passe.
It's always for king and country.
But it's passe. But in a way, it's passe nowadays. It's like. It goes back to, again, Judi Dench speaking. It's like, well, people with money and power, regardless of where they are, they can be from the States, they can be in England, they can be China. They will work together.
Bond
if
is
it's in their interest.
a British Secret Service agent.
Understood.
He is
right.
the most loyal bulldog of the British Secret Service that the British Secret Service has ever had.
So here's my question.
Even when he goes rogue, he always is coming back because he's going rogue to help. He's going rogue because he knows what he's doing is right, and that's going to make everything better for, at that time, for Queen and Country. But now it's for King and Country.
But here's my question. Can Bond exist without him working for the British Secret Service?
No. Not at all. No, Bond is MI6, and that's it, absolutely.
That's final.
He's 007.
That's final.
With the British Secret Service.
There
is no getting out of that.
Right.
It's literally, it's like Darth Vader not being a member of the Empire. It's just like
fair.
Darth Vader he's not going rogue.
Fair, but
and leaving.
But I mean,
Bond is a civil servant who probably makes, I don't know what a spy makes these days. But at probably $80,000 a year, something like that, in pounds. No, not a civil servant job. Maybe $100,000 a year because it's dangerous.
Well, if he has the Volante parked in the garage.
He kind of steals these things. I've always got a sense that he didn't buy that thing. He just didn't bring it back. Right. He's like, well, I've got a garage somewhere, and in some crappy part of London. I don't know what crappy part of London, but I'm going to just slide the old DB5 and the V8 and all that into the garage. All my suits will be there. All my cool stuff will be there.
Right.
And somehow, it just got destroyed in the field. And usually it did, and somehow it's reappeared.
Right.
And it's in Bond's garage. His weird little. And I love the fact that Bond has all these cool little garages everywhere, like stashed all over the world.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, those are cool details.
Even. I mean, that's what spies should have. Spies always have some.
And
50 passports.
I'm with Rob in regard to the love for these details. I mean, these details, and like with Zaritsky, the tutorial element, I completely agree. I mean, it's like there's a look, and that's what we get hooked onto. That's the palpable.
Every man wants to be him, and every woman wants to be with him.
Right.
That was the original. Brief.
But for me, it's like there absolutely there is a formula that should be adhered to, in my opinion.
Well, it has to be. You have to continue to adhere. Even the films that you feel like kind of go off the reservation, and they do, but they're still, if you put them they're still in the box. They, Purvis and Wade go, this has to be here, this has to be here, this has to be here, and this is.
Like, I understand, okay, Me Too era, all of this. No one's saying that, he needs to be going and taking women's bikinis and choking them. Nothing like that.
Yeah, because we've done that.
Well, yeah, right. Well, but what I'm saying is, it's like he can still be, polygamous. He's single. He doesn't have to be monogamous.
Single guy.
He doesn't have to promote this. He can smoke if he wants to.
So no, Deke, say hi to Felix. Deke, say goodbye to Felix.
Right.
Man talk. Those days are over.
But, listen. Okay, there's certain elements that could be considered offensive, but it's like if he wants to go to bed with multiple women,
the word is
it's his thing. It's consensual. They're both consensually together. You know?
absolutely, it's
So-
consensual.
So I hate immediately canceling all of these things out because it's like, well,
Grace Jones consents to being with Roger, and
my point
with
exactly.
the weirdest cut ever when she gets into the bed, and everyone knows
So we
this
don't
if
see
you know
your
your
boobs, right? Yeah.
But that's consensual, and Christopher Walken goes,
Why not?
entree,
Yeah, exactly.
I was just making out with you, but
It's like, do your thing.
that's Sir Roger.
Yeah, exactly.
Go enjoy yourself. Anyway, all right. So we are going to wrap this up now. So I'm not sure what we accomplished here, but what we accomplished here is you got the fact that we're pretty nerdy about Bond. We also disagree on.
But that's what keeps it interesting.
On plenty of things. Absolutely keeps that. We disagree on these things about Bond, and that's fine. Bond is a huge universe. We're talking about a cinematic universe that's now 62 years old, or 62 years ago, going on 63. It's the 60th anniversary of Goldfinger. The only thing older right now, or actually the same age running around, is the Rolling Stones, who played last night in San Francisco and are playing this weekend in Missouri. If you're in that area, go see the Stones. It's their last U.S. show.
No, he's not getting promo tickets.
No promo tickets for the Stones, but I will take them if you want to send me promo tickets for the potentially last U.S. concert of the Rolling Stones near Branson, Kentucky. Brought to you by the good people at AARP. So anyway, Bond is that old, right? So, but Mick's still going, Keith is still going, Bond is still going. We're going. It's something that transcends generations. I want to be a very old man watching a very young man playing James Bond, and I will. That's always going to be my happy place. And if I'm laying there, hopefully very old, and they go, "Oh, here's the new guy," and he's going to be 35 years old, and I'm going to be 50 years older than him. I'll be perfectly happy.
The right age to play Bond.
Yeah,
Even though I would rather feel James.
We're putting him up. Anyway. So we thank you for watching our first episode. If it went a little long, it is what it is, but it's our first one. So we're getting passionate about James Bond. So that's that. That's it. That's a wrap. Cut. Boom. All right. I have to turn this off literally by the thing here in the stream.